I love Nashville, Tennessee. More specifically, I love Franklin, Tennessee. I come down here at least 2 or 3 times a year, sometimes as many as 5 to 6 times a year. And I have so many creative, entrepreneurial type friends that are congregated here, that live here. They're always asking me, Cliff, when are you and your family going to move to Franklin? And the answer is never. I'll explain why in just a few moments, but I'm going to give you a hint by giving you a little tour of the place where I'm staying here in Franklin, Tennessee, which is one of the places I get to stay when I come in town. And it is the Carriage House that you see behind me at the home of Michael and Gail Hyatt. Let me show you around. I'll never forget the first time I came to Nashville. It was for a conference called PodCamp, and it was just a little conference put together by a bunch of local podcasters who wanted to spread the message of podcasting to the Nashville community. And I was invited to come down and speak at that event. And I remember booking a hotel, not knowing anything about any area of Nashville, and I ended up spending the night in a little tiny, super cheap motel that, quite honestly, wasn't in the best area of town. Not that there's a really terrible area in downtown Nashville, but this wasn't the best. And I remember putting out a Twitter message after spending the first night saying, hey, does anybody know of a good place for me to stay here in the Nashville area? I'm not so crazy about the place that I spent last night. I'm looking for a better hotel. And then I got a response from a guy named Jonathan Nation. And he says, hey, my wife and I have a guest room if you'd like to stay with us. And that was my first trip out to this area around the Franklin, Cold Spring, Murfreesboro area. Anyway, he invited me to stay at his place. And through that invitation, Jonathan and I became very close personal friends. And every time I came to Nashville for those first few years, I had a place to stay with Jonathan and his awesome family. So that was the start of this whole thing. Over the course of time, coming down here for different events and through all kinds of other circumstances, God has blessed me in so many tremendous ways by connecting me with amazing people. Folks like Dan Miller, Michael Hyatt, Ray Edwards, and so many other incredible people. And many of those folks live right here in the Franklin, Tennessee area. And I'll never forget the first time I had the opportunity to stay at Dan Miller's place, in the guest room of his home, and then many times in one of the guest rooms in the sanctuary that's on his property. And I'll never forget the first time I was invited to stay in the guest room of Michael and Gail Hyatt's home, which was before they built this Carriage House. And then, of course, coming here, what you just saw, this is the most incredible experience. I don't want to leave this place. It's amazing. But going back to the theme of this vlog, why I will never move to Franklin, Tennessee or Nashville. I get that question asked at least 20, maybe 50 times by all these different friends of mine that live down here. And I think they think I'm joking, but I'm not. And maybe I am, I don't know. But I tell them I'll never move to Franklin, Tennessee, because when I come to town, I am a celebrated guest. And I love that feeling. I love the feeling that I can come down here anytime I want. It's about 4.5 hour drive from the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area where I live. So it's not a big deal to get down here. And when I roll into town, people are falling over left and right saying, Cliff, do you want to stay at my place? Andy Traub, Jonathan Nation, Dan Miller, Michael Hyatt, and countless other people. And the joking part that I share with my friends is that, hey, you know, as a celebrated guest, this is such an incredible experience. But if I was a local, the only time I would be staying at the Carriage House, at the Hyatt's, or at the Sanctuary, or in Dan's guest room at his place is if Stephanie got mad and kicked me out of the house. But seriously, I gotta tell you, coming to Nashville, Tennessee, coming to Franklin, and experiencing the hospitality of these individuals, it is an experience in and of itself. One that I look forward to every time I come to the Franklin, Tennessee area. And every time I do, I am inspired to take my hospitality of people who come to my home, who might one day stay in the guest room in our home, to a whole new level. In fact, staying here at the Carriage House this week, it has inspired me of a couple things that I want to do to add to our guest room in our home for when people come to stay with us. So yeah, if you want to know why I will never move to Franklin, Tennessee or the Nashville, Tennessee area, that's why. Anyway, I'm getting ready to head back out to the Tribe conference put on by my friend Jeff Goins. So until next time, I encourage you to take everything you do to the next level.